Liam Crowley of The Direct here with the standout performer from The Witcher Season 2. You'll also recognize him from his roles in Peaky Blinders. It's the charismatic and captivating Lambert himself, Mr. Paul Bullion. Paul, thank you so much for taking the time to chat today, and congrats on the tremendous success of The Witcher Season 2 so far.
It's a pleasure. Thank you very much. And thank you for your kind words.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's get started by just talking about The Witcher as a whole. I'm very glad we got to conduct this interview after the season concluded so we can kind of talk in detail. And I kind of want to start out with a bit of a broad question as a whole. What's your proudest moment from your debut season of The Witcher?
Great question. Proudest moment, I think I have to say just the moment we wrapped on the season as a whole, because with the eye of the storm of the pandemic, and everything was put in place to make sure that we could finish the series, and to get those words that that's a wrap was beautiful. To be part of that and deliver that series is special.
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of the pandemic, what were some of the obstacles you faced early in production? Was there anything that kind of deterred the schedule, or was momentum able to keep moving?
Well, it was safety first. So I think I just had my screen test, a couple of screen tests, checking out like lens color for my eyes and costume and various things. And I think they've done 2 weeks of filming on the first episode, I believe. And then we had to close down. The producers had to get back to America, and it was very much sit tight, we will get back. And sitting tight turned into months. I think it was 6 or 7 months. And we got the green light, and like a 6-week kind of warning that we were going to be going back, and they had everything in place. Netflix had thought of everything, all the safety measures. So yeah, that was a huge delay, 6 or 7 months. We went back in the August, I believe. And then it was it was making sure we did everything in the safe way, which we absolutely did. And hats off to Netflix for that, because I felt safe, and that was the main obstacle really, was getting through with the huge delays. But we did deliver it in the end, so happy days.
And fortunately too, as you mentioned, beyond the health aspect, season 2 didn't really feel like it was impacted whatsoever by COVID from a story standpoint, because a lot of seasons of television or movies, sometimes you can kind of pick out where production woes kind of came in. So I thought that, the production value was still very much up to par with season 1 in season 2's execution. Moving forward, though, I do kind of want to take a further step back to your audition process, getting prepared for this role. We know Lambert is obviously a prominent character in the books and the video games, but your portrayal is very different from the Lambert we've seen in past media from The Witcher. And I know you said in previous interviews you wanted to avoid doing an impersonation. So can you kind of talk to me about how you approached playing this role, whether it be drawing inspiration from the books or the games while also making it your own?
Well, first off, the scripts gave me a lot. And my audition scene was the scene where we're kind of coaxing Freya, Ciri, into going onto the obstacle course, and you could just tell that he's pushy and he's quite short-tempered and spiky and all these things. I didn't read the books until I got the part, because I didn't want to interfere with whatever I was giving them in the audition room. It was working because they were recalling me. So and I had to kind of take a bit of an educated guess as to who I was auditioning for, because everything was under wraps, so it was coded. So the scenes we got were for a coded title of a show. It was only because I knew the cast and director's previous work that I took a guess that it was going to be The Witcher that I'm auditioning for, and then obviously took a further educated guess it would be Lambert. And then yeah, I mean, I suppose once I had the offer, that's when I delved into the books and the games, and I got a flavour of what was already out there. But I wanted to make sure that I didn't play Lambert as an arsehole for the sake of it. And I made sure I kind of grounded it in a sense of insecurity, and he kind of behaves like a small child when he feels belittled, so that's what I was going for, and I hope it came across on the screen.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the aspects of Lambert that attracted me as a viewer personally was his mindset of being kind of pro Witcher and anti outsider per se. And even though that's an aspect that's seen in the books and the video games as well, I felt like your portrayal took it in a very fresh direction. And we've seen that in other media before, in other movies and such, with someone like, say, Magneto in the X-Men movies, who's very pro-mutant, anti-human and everything. Did you take any inspiration from other characters that have a similar mindset outside of Witcher media?
I kind of rooted it in like normal human behavior, in the sense of, if someone's been wronged by life, they have trust issues, and I think Lambert doesn't trust very easily because I don't think he chose to be a Witcher. He's good at it, and he loves the people around him, but it's not, he doesn't, the whole destiny thing, he can go and do one because he didn't choose it. So he's gone through these trials and all these really negative experiences as growing up, and he's gone through that with the witches around him, so he's very protective of them, and he's kind of like maybe like a veteran that's come back from war and it's like, I've seen some stuff like you don't know the half of it. So when Ciri turns up and she says, I want to be a witch, I want to do what a witcher does, he almost finds it funny. It's like, you have no idea. But then the funny thing is, like, Lambert has no idea of the sheer power that Ciri has inside her, and I think that's what's quite interesting about their relationship. Is I think they both misread each other at the start.
And then they kind of grow together as the season progresses, which I thought was very well done. And it was one of the most intriguing subplots of this season in particular. A big talking point a lot of fans are mentioning on socials right now is the kind of polarizing death of Eskel early on in the season. He's a very beloved character in the books and in video games as well. And showrunner Lauren Schmidt-Hissrich revealed that Eskel's death was actually intended for John in early editions of the script. It was kind of changed later on. I just kind of want to get your reaction to that character death. Did you foresee it having such a great impact on the fan base, or did you think that it was natural and needed to happen in order to further the narrative?
I thought it was a really interesting choice, and I support the writers in that choice. I 100% knew that there'll be fans that wouldn't be happy about it. He's a fan favorite. You can see all the fan art and the fan fiction involving the witches, Eskel, Lambert, and obviously Cohen isn't in the video games. He's very much in the books. But I think if you took any of those three witches away, exclude Geralt as the lead, if you took any of those witches away, it was going to be a shock factor. Me personally, as a storyteller, I think if you're going to do a TV adaptation, I think it's good to keep the audience guessing, even if you are a Witcher lore expert, or you have everything on lockdown, everything about the title. I think it's great to throw a curveball and do you know what? You can't guess this. And that's what I thought was brilliant about the decision. I found out when I read the scripts at the start, and I was going through, like, are they going to bring him back magically somehow? I was like, okay. And then I realized, no, that was it. And I thought that was I think it's necessary in TV adaptations to let the audience know that nobody can guess. And I think I think even people that are fans of Eskel, to be affected by it, whether it's in a where you're filled with sadness at seeing Eskel die, or shock, isn't it great to watch something and be like, I did not see that coming? Like, I love take me away from Witcher. If I'm watching something else, I love it when something completely sideswipes me out of nowhere. So I think it was a brave decision, and I 100% back the writers in that.
Yeah, absolutely. It definitely kept me on my toes as a viewer. And I think that that leads to a bit of unpredictability going forward with The Witcher, not just throughout the rest of season 2, but going forward in future seasons as well. You mentioned in a past interview that there was some fond memories, of course, that you shared with star Henry Cavill. You guys share a lot of screen time together throughout this season. And there was one moment in particular in a past interview where you mentioned you couldn't get into too much detail because it would give stuff away. But now that the season has come out as a whole, something involving a watering wheel or some sort of contraption that you had an interaction with Cavill with, and something that took a turn for the comedic. I'm just curious about that in particular, or just any other fond memories you shared with the star.
Something about watering a watering wheel. I can't remember saying anything about a watering wheel. I remember I know in episode 8 in the Battle of the Basilisks,
Yes.
There were a lot of wind machines.
Wind machines. That was it. Okay. I mixed up the word. Yeah.
Okay. I was going to say, did I have water? No. Yeah, there were a lot of wind machines for the Basilisk fights, obviously, because they create the atmosphere and obviously the portal and the rest of it. So we're having all this wind blowing in our faces as we're screaming our lines out. And the props department were actually hid under the tables, and they're throwing props up to, get caught in the wind. And some of it was like paper. And it was really hard not to laugh, because we're trying to stand there all stoic, and then suddenly like each actor would take it in turns and different takes, because you'd end up getting a bit of paper right in your face. And it would always work out that it's your close-up, and then there'll be a big bit of paper just across your face, and then they're like, cut, and then you'd get the giggles, and then you'd reel it back in and go again. But I think it happened to everyone. I think Henry got some paper in his face. I got some paper in the face. Yas got it like 3 times. I think he was positioned in the worst possible place, and even Kim took a hit from a few props as well. So that was particularly funny, especially in such a massive moment in the show, to suddenly just have the props department kind of attacking us all.
Absolutely. Well, I'm glad we got to hear that story now that spoilers are free reign. Yeah. Speaking further on Cavill a bit, he's obviously been intertwined in the show's DNA since season 1, and he's a very accomplished actor in Hollywood. From just a behind the scenes perspective, did you share any meaningful conversations with Henry Cavill that you'd like to share?
I just think he's such a gentleman. He is very passionate about the show, and he's very giving as an actor. So he was always there for advice. He was always there to discuss details. He wouldn't just like turn up and film. He'd be there to discuss, the scenes in detail before. And he would often, we would have the discussion that, we were like a band of brothers, and that we would behave as such. And he created that camaraderie off the screen as well. Obviously, it was difficult with COVID. It was difficult, especially we had a really lovely country pub just opposite the studios, and we couldn't go in there obviously because of the pandemic. So it's very much like being kept separate transport and everything at the end of each day. But that pub was almost like teasing us. Like it was closed the whole time we were filming, but he would really go above and beyond to create a camaraderie that would transfer to the screen. And he just gave me, we swapped some advice on working out. Obviously he's very accomplished in his physique, and I'm very into my fitness as well. So we would often discuss what our fitness was that morning, and he would do something ridiculous like get up at like 4 a.m. to do physio, and then work out, then come to set. And it's great to be around people like that, because it just rubs off on you. And he leads from the front, and I think it's great to have somebody like Henry that's so passionate about the show, leading it. So it's great.
Yeah, it's wonderful to hear, especially the band of brothers aspect you mentioned, because you and your fellow Witchers are new characters, yet you have such a lived-in history with this character, Geralt of Rivia, and I think that it translated well on screen. So props to Henry, props to you as well. Moving forward, just looking at you as an actor as a whole, I want to just kind of get a sense of your 2022 plans. I know we can't really talk specifics with certain things, I'm sure, but can you tease the fans, listeners, and readers of what you're gonna have going on in the new year?
Yeah, I can say that around March time, I'm going to be heading to Ireland to film something. So we'll see. We'll see if they can guess from what's filming in Ireland what that might be. I can't actually say at the moment what it is. Yeah, but in terms of like moving forward with The Witcher, I'm committed to The Witcher. I'm there as long as they want to use me. So that's all I can say on that aspect of it. But yeah, moving forward, I want to get into as many kind of different genres as possible. And yeah, and for me, The Witcher is something that's a big part, of my life now, because it is such a huge show, and to film it through the pandemic, it's always going to be a special part of my life. So yeah, I'm committed to it. And Lambert, I'm very proud of Lambert, and I'm proud to play him. So moving forward, I'm of course committed to playing Lambert in whatever kind of capacity he pops up.
Yeah, I love that. And if you find yourself in County Cork in Ireland, make sure you say hello to the Crowley family. That's where my dad's side of the family comes from. So,
Are you half Irish?
Yeah, and my dad's right off the boat. County Cork. I got family in Galway,
amazing.
Kerry, everywhere.
So have you've been to Ireland quite a lot?
Quite
yourself?
A lot, yeah. 7 times total.
Oh, amazing! That's about the same amount of times as me, and it's just over the water. No, my great granddad's from Dublin. My mum's side's Irish, basically, with the maiden name of Doyle. So you don't get more Irish than that.
Yeah, no family in Dublin, but it's where we fly into always, because Shannon has been closed because of the pandemic. But
right,
yeah, no, Dublin's fantastic.
Are you going there? So are you going there anytime next year, or?
We're hoping sometime in May, before the summer kind of ties me up with work obligations and whatnot. But yeah, hoping to get out there, and I'm excited to see whatever you're filming out there, because I do know that they do actually have a fair bit of production that goes on in Ireland these days.
There's
Star
a
Wars,
lot.
obviously, on Skellig Michael and whatnot.
It's a beautiful country. It's got beautiful landscape. It's really nice. And I mean, you must know from being there yourself, the Guinness does taste better in Ireland. It does. I don't know if it's to do with the fact that it's not traveling, but it's a real beautiful thing. I mean, it's a dangerous thing for me, because I love Guinness, and if I'm in Ireland, then I'm going to have to have some.
It's the Guinness, and then there's the one other, the local one. I'm forgetting the name.
Murphy's.
Carlsberg.
Carlsberg is actually brews near my hometown in England, a town called Northampton, is where they've got a big brewery there, and I'm from a town called Newport Pagnell. So it was the cheapest lager to drink when you're growing up, because it was literally brewed down the road.
Well, I'll have to make it out there to try it right from the source. Paul, again, thank you so much for taking the time to chat today. Congrats again on the success of The Witcher, and we're going to be keeping a lookout for your future projects. Thank you again.
Thank you very much, Liam. Thank you.